I made my first $100,000 on YouTube without really going viral and without a super huge audience. Now, disclaimer, I still feel like I have a pretty smaller sized audience. I don't have like 100,000 subscribers or anything like that yet. But when I made my first $100,000 in my business, my primary marketing tool was YouTube. Although I did not have a huge audience, I had a deep audience, and I even started making sales on YouTube when I had less than 1,000 subscribers, when I had just a couple hundred subscribers. And so if you've ever wondered how to actually make money on this platform without being monetized and without going viral and without having a huge audience, then keep watching. So I'm going to tell y'all now, before we get into this entire video, that the secret to sales on YouTube with a small audience is to have a community who cares about what you have to say, a community who wants to go deeper with you in some way. And so when that is true, when those things are true, then you can easily make sales. And so keep that in mind as we go through this video. One of the myths that people often have is that when I have more, then I will start to sell a product or a service, or when I have, much more subscribers, whether it's 10,000 or 1,000 or 100,000 subscribers, then I'll think of a product or service to sell. They're focused only on growing their channel instead of focusing on who is there now. One of the ways I was able to grow my channel and also build people who cared about what I was talking about and wanted to buy from me was to treat the people who were there now as my people. I always saw my audience as my people. I still do. Even when I had 50 people watching or 500 people watching. I'll tell y'all a story. I've told this before. I used to go live on my channel all the time. That's how I built up the watch hours and the community enough to monetize my channel. And so when I first went live, I think I had one person on the live who left. And then as I kind of got more consistent over time, over a couple weeks, I might have had like 5 strong viewers or 10 strong viewers. Even now, if I go live, which I want to go live soon, when I'm live there in the moment, it's never a lot of people there. And that's not a reason to shrink back and to get off and to stop trying. That's your opportunity to figure out, okay, who are you and what do you need and why are you here and how can I help you more? And when you treat people like your people from the beginning, that is how you'll start to see growth, because people can feel that transparency and that authenticity where they actually want to stick around and, like I said, go deeper with you. Now, when I started to build that community, how did I actually build a community that turned into sales? I did a few different things. Number one, I had to, and you have to, show up consistently, whatever that means for you. I talked about this in my last video, but you really have to figure out how you can be consistent and then stick with that. If that means that you have to batch create on one weekend at the beginning of the month, 5 videos, that you're putting out a video a week at least, then do that. For me, I was teaching and I had no capacity to be putting up videos every week. I couldn't do it, y'all. I just couldn't. So I decided that I can make time to go live. There's no editing and there's very little pre-planning. And then I gave myself a challenge. I'm going to be consistent for at least 30 days and then we'll see from there if this was worth my time or not. But I did what I could and then I stuck with it. It ended up working. So then I continued on for months and months. Now the next one I think is what really blew up my channel the next time around, and it helped me to start making those sales, was I shared my real journey. So when I was starting my YouTube channel, I was building an online boutique and I was sharing behind the scenes of my journey. Whatever you're talking about on YouTube, it doesn't matter. Share parts of your journey behind the scenes, whatever you're comfortable with, because people now see this is a real person. Then they can identify themselves in your story. You'll have more natural engagement. People will say, you know what? I need help with that specific thing she just showed. Let me ask a question. Let me ask him a question. And then you'll start to get more comments and questions as you're sharing your real journey. And I always say that when people ask a question, that answer that you have for that question can be your next video. If you get questions, the same one over and over and over again, that now turns into your paid product. That's exactly how I launched my first product, the Boutique Business Guide. I was going on live, talking about my journey, talking about what was going on in my business building process. And as I would just come on and candidly share, people would ask me questions of like, okay, well, how did you do that? And how would you do that? And so then I would go and make a YouTube video about it. That would then direct my next video. However, when I kept going live and they kept asking me those same questions, and we're like, y'all already answered that question, that told me what product to create, because clearly this is some questions that are frequently asked in my niche with my audience. And so you want to start listening. I tell my clients, listen for the echoes, because the things that you hear repeated over and over again can direct your next product. And this is how you start to get those sales. Because as they started to talk back, I listened. And then as I listened, I created product. And then the product that I put out, the boutique business guide, that started to jumpstart the income from my channel, because I realized, okay, everybody has these same questions. And so I used to wake up to minimum 2 sales a day, and the ebook was $49. And so I would wake up to at least $100 a day. And that would happen day after day after day for months. I was attracting this audience because they saw like, okay, she's talking about how to get started. She went live sharing more. She has an ebook telling it all. So it just was a natural progression. I started to see increased views on my channel. I started to see even more views on my lives. Even if only 5 people joined my live in that time, I would look back and then I have 100 views on that live, 1,000 views on that live. I'm talking about this product. I'm starting to see multiple sales every day from this product. Like, it became a ripple effect, all because I showed up and I started talking about what I cared about, and I was real about my journey. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, if y'all do this, you will be surprised. Now, this next thing is also key, and it kind of goes back off of what I said in the last one, but I built trust, and that led to income. So very rarely will I come on here and say, hey, y'all, buy this. Hey, y'all, buy this. I don't think I do that in any of my videos. I may sell something at the end. I may lead you to a product at the end. And that's also how you can build trust. My rule of thumb is you teach 80% of the time and you sell 20% of the time. And that can mean 2 different things. In a single video, I can teach the majority of the time and then sell at the end. Or in a month, I can have 3 videos of straight teaching and the last one be where I'm selling something specific. And so this is how you're able to build trust. Don't be afraid to give something up, because as you share, you're letting them see like, wait, this person knows their stuff. Wait, I'm getting so much value from the free thing. How much more will I get from the paid? So I did not hold back on value. I taught what I knew. I created products that actually answered their questions, and then I followed through. And y'all, this is the beautiful thing that led to, $100,000 in my business. I don't think I made $100,000 from one single ebook, and I never claimed to do so, but that's not typically what happens. What led to me getting increased income was having multiple streams that I was selling of. So this is actually very fitting, because let me invite y'all into the process and how it went down. Okay, I'm talking to my audience, my people, and we're sharing, we're talking. I'm being real about my journey. I'm talking about building my business. I'm talking about my faith and how my faith is intertwined in my business, because here on my channel we talk about faith and business. And I realized that as I'm sharing my values and what I cared about, the people who were watching had similar values. Some didn't, some don't, and they leave, and that's fine, or they stay, and that's fine too. But a lot of the people who were coming to me were like, wait, I also have that same faith. I also believe those same things. And so I was creating, selling boutique, regular cutesy clothing. But then I realized I have an audience right here of aspiring entrepreneurs who are faith-based, who want to go and do that thing. And so I started to be able to create products specifically with my audience in mind. That is how I started to create the Fearless collection, Faith Over Fear. I created a custom t-shirt just for those who are in my community. And then we would talk about faith. We would have Bible study. So then I created my devotional to go along with that Bible study. They would ask questions and want to grow on Instagram. So I would create a quick course on how I sell easily on Instagram. And it now became, I don't need to sell my products to thousands of people, and I don't need to have 100,000 views. No, this is my little core community. This is my core group. I talk about these topics. They relate, they like, they want to learn more. I sell. And as they grew and evolved, so did my products. They grew and evolved. And I started putting out things specifically for them. And I started to see consistent daily sales. And so as I continued to show up, things started to compound. So they trusted in what I was saying. They shared it out with their friends and family. Those people in my audience bought, and like literally in no time, my one ebook that brought me $100 here and there compounded over time. And so you don't necessarily always need more. You need focus. You need purpose. You need a brand. You need a point of view to connect with your audience with. You need to go deeper with the people who are already in front of you. And so if you're starting from scratch with nothing, no channel at all, this should give you hope and like encouragement to just get started. Just get started where you are. And, you know, give yourself that time to build up that community. I did not start a YouTube channel with the intent to sell. It just so happens that for the past 7 years, my videos lead now to sales because I now know how it works. But when I first started, my intent was to be authentic. My intent now is still to be authentic, to build a core group of people who we align. We have similar missions, similar ideas, similar values. And I'm just here as someone who's kind of like leading the pack in a sense with my core community. And so as I built that community, my focus was to build trust. As they need, I'm here to serve my audience. And that's always how I've been. And that's what works for me. And so every product I've sold and all the sales that I get is because I show up with a service mindset that I'm here to serve my audience. They have needs and I'm going to be here to serve them, to help them with whatever they're needing. Now, the next one, which is so important for everybody to know, is before you try to hope and beg for more views, YouTube is a multiplier, but it doesn't just multiply your views, it multiplies your systems. It's going to highlight what's already going on behind the scenes. So if your foundation is strong, if your content is for a specific person, if it's aligned and you have a topic that they actually care about, then your views can then turn into sales. However, if your systems are broken, if you're making content that's directed just to everybody and whoever, then more views can lead to frustration and confusion. Y'all, the scripture for today, when I woke up, I think it's so fitting for this video. And it comes from Luke 16 verse 10. We know it all very well, is that if you are faithful in little things, you will be faithful in large things. And then it also says the opposite. And if you're not faithful in small things, then you won't be faithful in many. And so the thing is, like, understand that as you do well in a little bit, that will multiply to even more. And so focus on the people who are there. Focus on what you have control over, how you're showing up now. I know what it feels like to feel like you're behind or that you're not growing fast enough, but let me just be the first to say that you're not behind. You're catching it early. You're early. You're on time. You're even before on time. And so if you're still in the growing phase, this is the perfect time to get aligned, to focus on building community, not clout. And as you do that, you will see success as you continue to grow over time. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up button down below and subscribe for the next video, where I will talk to you all about how I made over 100 sales in just one video in the matter of just a couple of weeks.